Pain is a universal part of life. Every human being, no matter their status, wealth, or accomplishments, faces moments of suffering. Yet it is precisely through these experiences that the deepest transformations occur. Viktor Frankl, the renowned psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, taught us that suffering is not just something to endure, but a tool through which we can discover meaning, resilience, and purpose. Imagine life as a blacksmith's forge. Pain is the fire, and you are the raw metal. Only by enduring the heat and pressure does the metal become strong, shaped, and ready for its purpose. The first step in transforming suffering into strength is to understand its nature. Pain is not just physical discomfort or emotional turmoil, it is a signal. It signals that something in your life requires attention, reflection, or change. Often, people resist pain, trying to avoid it or numb it through distraction. Yet avoidance only prolongs the experience and limits its potential to teach us. Instead, embracing suffering allows us to extract lessons, cultivate patience, and develop a deeper self-awareness. Consider the analogy of climbing a mountain. The path is steep, filled with obstacles, fatigue, and moments of doubt. Every step is exhausting, and the temptation to turn back is strong. But the struggle is not meaningless. With each step, your legs grow stronger, your lungs adapt to the thin air, and your mind learns to focus on small victories rather than the intimidating summit. Pain, like the mountain climb, is a training ground for growth. One practical approach is to reframe your perception of pain. Rather than asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What is this experience teaching me?" This simple shift transforms the narrative from victimhood to empowerment. Journaling is a powerful tool in this process. Write down your struggles, your emotional responses, and then reflect on what each moment of suffering might be pointing toward. For instance, a challenging relationship may reveal areas where your communication skills or boundaries need strengthening. A professional setback might highlight resilience, creativity, or the need to reconsider your approach. Another key element is cultivating patience. Just as gold is refined slowly in fire, personal growth emerges gradually through persistent effort. Meditation or mindfulness exercises can help you observe your suffering without judgment, allowing you to engage with it consciously rather than react impulsively. Over time, this practice builds a mental and emotional stamina that makes future challenges more manageable. Recognizing the universality of suffering is also crucial. Every individual faces difficulties, and understanding this truth creates empathy, connection, and a sense of shared human experience. You are not alone in your struggles. You are part of a larger story of resilience and survival. These foundational principles, embracing suffering, reframing perspective, cultivating patience, and acknowledging shared humanity, form the bedrock for turning pain into power. They prepare the mind and heart to move beyond mere survival toward meaningful growth. When you internalize these lessons, suffering becomes not an obstacle, but a teacher, guiding you to discover strengths you never knew existed. By facing pain directly and actively seeking its lessons, you begin a transformative process that strengthens not just your character, but your ability to find purpose in life's most difficult moments. These insights prepare the ground for practical strategies in using suffering intentionally to fuel personal growth, which we will explore further. Once we recognize that suffering can serve as a tool for growth, the next step is learning how to use it intentionally. Viktor Frankl emphasized that meaning arises from action, from finding a purpose even in the darkest circumstances. The first strategy is reflection with intention. Reflection is more than thinking about what happened. It is asking, how can this experience shape me positively? Create a structured approach. List the challenge, describe the emotional impact, and identify at least one lesson or action you can take. For example, if you lost a job unexpectedly, instead of sinking into despair, analyze your skills. passions, and opportunities for improvement. Ask yourself how this loss can redirect you toward a more meaningful path. Another key principle is the power of choice. Frankl's philosophy centers on the fact that we may not control our circumstances, but we always control our response. Imagine a stormy sea. You cannot stop the waves, but you can learn to navigate your boat with skill, calm, and focus. This sense of agency is transformative. Even small daily choices, how you respond to criticism, whether you engage in self-care, or how you interact with others under stress, can accumulate, shaping a stronger and more resilient character. Resilience-building practices also play a vital role. Physical activity, meditation, journaling, and deliberate skill development are ways to convert stress into strength. Each practice conditions your body and mind to endure, adapt, and grow. Think of resilience as a muscle. The more you train it under controlled strain, the stronger it becomes. Frankl also highlighted the importance of purpose beyond self. Suffering becomes more bearable when it is connected to a larger mission. Helping others, pursuing meaningful work, or contributing to a cause creates a sense of transcendence. Pain becomes a stepping stone for impact, rather than a barrier. For instance, a personal loss may inspire someone to support others experiencing similar difficulties, turning individual suffering into communal benefit. Narrative restructuring is another effective technique. Humans naturally tell stories about their experiences, often framing themselves as victims. By actively reframing the narrative to focus on growth, courage, and learning, you rewrite your identity. Replace "this is unbearable" with "this challenge is shaping me into a stronger, wiser person." The language shift changes perception and motivates action. Exercises like visualization are powerful here. Imagine yourself months or years after the suffering, having grown stronger, wiser, and more capable. This forward-looking perspective creates hope and energy, fueling perseverance. Finally, gratitude for struggle amplifies its power. It may seem counterintuitive, but identifying aspects of pain that teach or reveal hidden strengths reinforces your resilience. Gratitude does not minimize the difficulty, but acknowledges its role in your development. In summary, intentional reflection, conscious choice, resilience-building practices, purpose-driven action, narrative restructuring, visualization, and gratitude form a comprehensive toolkit for turning suffering into strength. By applying these methods, you begin to transform adversity from a destructive force into a constructive one, shaping not only your character, but also the trajectory of your life. Understanding these strategies sets the stage for exploring deeper psychological mechanisms and exercises that embed this transformation into daily living. After establishing strategies for using suffering as a tool, it is essential to integrate these practices into daily life consistently. Transformation is not instantaneous. It is the accumulation of small, deliberate actions sustained over time. One effective approach is the creation of a daily reflection routine. Each morning or evening, spend 10 to 15 minutes reviewing experiences, emotional responses, and lessons learned. Ask yourself questions such as, what discomfort did I encounter today, and what did it reveal about my values or weaknesses? And how can I apply this insight tomorrow? Over weeks, this practice sharpens awareness, making challenges easier to navigate and insights more readily accessible. Another practical method is journaling with intention. Divide a notebook into sections for daily events, emotional responses, lessons, and actions. Writing concretizes learning, provides perspective, and allows tracking of growth over time. Analogously, think of it as planting seeds. Each reflection is a seed that, with consistent care, grows into wisdom and resilience. In addition, cultivating mindful presence amplifies your ability to harness suffering. When facing pain, rather than reacting impulsively or dwelling on what cannot be changed, practice observing sensations, thoughts, and emotions without judgment. Techniques such as focused breathing, body scanning, or mindful walking enhance your capacity to engage with pain consciously, reducing stress and strengthening your mental endurance. Community and mentorship are also vital components. Sharing struggles with trusted friends, mentors, or support groups provides perspective, encouragement, and accountability. Others' experiences often illuminate patterns or solutions that are difficult to see alone. Moreover, being part of a supportive network reinforces the belief that adversity can be overcome, turning individual suffering into collective growth. The principle of incremental exposure to challenges further solidifies strength. Just as muscles grow through progressive resistance, gradually facing difficult situations, whether emotional, social, or professional, builds competence and confidence. Start with manageable difficulties, reflect on outcomes, and progressively tackle larger challenges. Metaphorically, each challenge is a weight lifted, expanding your capacity and resilience over time. Finally, embedding meaning-driven goals transforms the experience of suffering into a guiding compass. Define short-term objectives aligned with personal growth and long-term aspirations that transcend immediate discomfort. Linking pain to purpose creates motivation and direction. For example, using the experience of personal loss to pursue a career in counseling or advocacy converts trauma into contribution. Through daily reflection, intentional journaling, mindfulness, community support, incremental challenges, and purpose-driven goals, suffering becomes a disciplined, transformative force. These practices move you beyond mere endurance toward active engagement with life, shaping strength, wisdom, and resilience. Mastery of these habits prepares you to explore even deeper layers of transformation, where pain not only strengthens character, but illuminates life's purpose and ultimate meaning, creating a foundation for sustained personal growth and fulfillment. Once you have integrated daily reflection, mindful presence, and purpose-driven goals into your routine, the next stage is transforming suffering into proactive action. Viktor Frankl emphasized that meaning is discovered not only through understanding pain, but through doing something with it. Pain without action risks stagnation or bitterness, whereas pain channeled into deliberate effort becomes a source of strength and fulfillment. One powerful method is creative expression. Art, writing, music, or any form of creation allows the mind to process complex emotions, turning abstract suffering into tangible output. Consider a sculptor chiseling stone. The raw block may be rough, imperfect, even resistant, but through sustained, deliberate effort, it is transformed into a work of meaning and beauty. Similarly, your suffering, expressed through creation, can produce insight, connection, and legacy. Another form of action is goal-oriented problem-solving. Identify areas where your pain points to unresolved issues, relationships, skills, or health, and take structured steps to address them. For instance, if professional failure caused emotional turmoil, create a detailed plan to upgrade your skills, expand your network, or explore new opportunities. Pain becomes a signal for concrete change rather than a source of despair. Acts of service amplify this transformation. Helping others who face similar struggles converts individual pain into communal benefit. Volunteering, mentoring, or simply offering empathy creates a sense of contribution and perspective. Imagine suffering as fuel. Without action, it remains a raw resource. When channeled into service, it becomes energy that powers both personal growth and the lives of others. Additionally, cultivating adaptive thinking strengthens your ability to act under pressure. This involves viewing obstacles not as insurmountable blocks, but as puzzles requiring creativity and strategy. Analogously, consider a chess player navigating complex moves. Each challenge is an opportunity to think strategically, anticipate consequences, and respond with skill. Adaptive thinking builds confidence and reduces the paralyzing effect of adversity. Rituals of reinforcement also help solidify these changes. Establish routines that remind you of past challenges overcome, lessons learned, and progress made. Daily affirmations, milestone celebrations, or revisiting your journal can reinforce resilience and highlight the utility of pain as a teacher. Furthermore, cultivating a future-oriented mindset ensures that present suffering is linked to meaningful outcomes. Visualize not just what you endure today, but the person you will become months or years from now. This long-term perspective fosters perseverance, patience, and determination. In combination, creative expression, goal-oriented problem-solving, service to others, adaptive thinking, reinforcement rituals, and future-oriented visualization create a comprehensive framework for converting suffering into action. By consciously applying these methods, you transform passive endurance into active empowerment. Pain becomes a catalyst, propelling you toward mastery, contribution, and purpose. The deeper significance is that suffering is not merely an obstacle to overcome, it is a vehicle for profound personal evolution. Recognizing this potential marks a turning point, where you move from reactive existence to proactive engagement. This understanding naturally leads to the next layer of transformation, not only using pain to build strength and action, but integrating it into your identity and worldview, so that resilience and purpose become inseparable from who you are. This integration sets the foundation for a life in which adversity is no longer feared, but welcomed as a teacher and guide toward meaning.
Integrating suffering into your identity requires a profound psychological shift. Viktor Frankl argued that individuals who find meaning in suffering reshape their inner world, cultivating a sense of purpose resilient to external circumstances. The first step is self-redefinition through adversity. Rather than seeing yourself as a passive victim of circumstance, define yourself as a survivor, a learner, and a doer. Every painful experience becomes a chapter in your life story, each with lessons and insights that reinforce your evolving identity. Think of your life as a tapestry. Painful threads are not defects, they are integral to the overall pattern, adding depth, contrast, and texture. This perspective fosters acceptance and gratitude for adversity as a formative force. Another critical element is values clarification. Suffering often exposes what truly matters. Reflect on moments of challenge and ask, which behaviors, beliefs, and goals allowed me to endure, and which hindered? By identifying core values, you align decisions and actions with a meaningful framework that guides you even in uncertainty. For example, if empathy and courage enabled you to navigate hardship, consciously prioritize these traits in relationships, work, and personal development. Emotional mastery is also essential. Pain often triggers fear, anger, or despair. Rather than suppressing these emotions, practice observing, labeling, and understanding them. Techniques like cognitive reframing, mindfulness, and deep reflection cultivate the ability to respond consciously rather than react impulsively. Emotional mastery strengthens self-efficacy, confidence, and resilience. Narrative integration builds upon this work. By consciously shaping the story you tell yourself about your experiences, you transform isolated incidents of suffering into a coherent narrative of growth. Rather than recalling events as unfair or meaningless, frame them as challenges that foster insight, perseverance, and character. For instance, instead of "I was betrayed," reframe as "This experience taught me discernment, boundaries, and personal strength." Mentorship and role modeling reinforce identity transformation. Learning from individuals who have turned adversity into purpose provides guidance, perspective, and inspiration. Observing how others integrate challenges into their lives offers practical strategies for adaptation and modeling resilience. A parallel strategy is habitual reflection and ritualization. Daily or weekly reflection, meditation, or journaling consolidates insights gained from suffering, embedding them into habitual thinking patterns. Over time, this practice shifts cognition and behavior, creating a resilient mindset that becomes automatic. Transcendence through contribution is the final element in identity integration. By connecting personal suffering to broader impact, through mentorship, advocacy, or community service, your experiences gain external significance. Pain is no longer merely personal. It contributes to a legacy of value, empathy, and wisdom. Together, self-redefinition, values clarification, emotional mastery, narrative integration, mentorship, habitual reflection, and transcendence form a cohesive system. This system transforms suffering from an episodic challenge into a permanent element of identity, a source of power, wisdom, and purpose. Once internalized, this approach allows you to face adversity with calm confidence, seeing challenges not as threats, but as opportunities to express core values, exercise resilience, and make meaningful contributions. This identity-level transformation prepares the mind and spirit for the ultimate stage, embracing suffering as a continuous guide, shaping life decisions, fostering long-term growth, and revealing the deeper purpose hidden within hardship.
At the final stage, suffering evolves into a source of sustained guidance and purpose. Viktor Frankl emphasized that life's ultimate meaning is often revealed not in comfort, but in the courage to endure and interpret pain constructively. This stage is about living a purpose-infused life, where adversity serves as both compass and catalyst. First, embrace anticipatory resilience. This involves mentally preparing for potential future difficulties, not to dwell on fear, but to cultivate readiness. Reflect on past hardships and identify strategies, attitudes, and habits that helped you navigate them. By anticipating challenges, you reduce uncertainty and increase confidence, turning future obstacles into opportunities for deliberate growth. Integration of lessons into decision-making is the next critical step. Pain experienced and interpreted constructively provides a rich database for informed choices. When faced with new challenges, ask, how would this experience shape my response? Or, what insight from past suffering can guide me? Over time, these queries become second nature, ensuring that adversity continuously refines your judgment. Another key practice is mentoring through experience. Sharing lessons learned from personal suffering amplifies their impact. Teaching others how to navigate pain reinforces your own understanding, strengthens your sense of purpose, and extends influence beyond personal boundaries. Analogously, think of yourself as a lighthouse. Your resilience and insight illuminate safe paths for others navigating stormy seas. Continuous growth mindset ensures that suffering never becomes stagnant.
view challenges as opportunities to stretch capabilities, deepen wisdom, and expand empathy. Pain is not a sign of limitation, but a signal for potential evolution. Like muscles responding to resistance, your mind and character strengthen through repeated exposure to difficulty. Holistic self-care is crucial for sustainable transformation. Physical health, emotional stability, and mental clarity amplify the capacity to endure and learn from adversity. Exercise, nutrition, rest, and mindfulness practices ensure that you engage with suffering from a position of strength rather than depletion. Purpose-driven visualization solidifies long-term direction. Envision how ongoing adversity could shape your life, character, and contributions in meaningful ways. This future-focused imagery fuels motivation, resilience, and clarity. Altruistic transformation represents the culmination of this process. Pain becomes not just a teacher for oneself, but a catalyst for broader impact. Personal suffering guides professional decisions, social actions, and interpersonal relationships, creating ripples of positive influence. Ultimately, transforming suffering into strength is not a one-time achievement, but a lifelong practice. By embracing anticipatory resilience, integrating lessons, mentoring others, cultivating growth, prioritizing holistic self-care, and visualizing purpose, you create a life in which pain continually informs and empowers. Adversity becomes a teacher, a compass, and a catalyst for profound personal evolution, revealing the hidden potential in every challenge. When you master this approach, life's hardships are no longer threats, but allies, guiding you toward a meaningful, resilient, and purpose-driven existence. Now that suffering has become a source of guidance and purpose, the focus shifts to embedding resilience deeply into your daily mindset. Resilience is not just a reaction to challenges, it is a proactive framework that informs every decision, interaction, and thought. Viktor Frankl taught that meaning emerges most vividly when individuals consciously choose how to respond to unavoidable pain. This section explores practical strategies to make resilience an intrinsic part of life. First, cultivate cognitive reframing. Pain often triggers negative narratives. This is unfair, or I can't endure this. Reframing involves consciously replacing these thoughts with empowering alternatives, such as, this experience is shaping me into a stronger person, or I can learn from this challenge. Regularly practicing this mental exercise strengthens the ability to perceive adversity as opportunity rather than threat. Next, embrace micro-challenges in daily life. Deliberately placing yourself in manageable, uncomfortable situations, public speaking, learning a difficult skill, or tackling a complex problem, trains your mind to respond calmly under pressure. These micro-challenges act like resistance training for emotional endurance. Over time, the mind and body adapt, and future stressors become less intimidating. Ritualized reflection remains central. Set aside time each day to evaluate your responses to challenges and extract lessons. Ask yourself, how did I respond to discomfort today, and what can I do better tomorrow? This habit consolidates learning, reinforces growth, and strengthens your mental framework for resilience. Another essential practice is purpose anchoring. Anchor your actions and responses to long-term goals or higher values. When suffering arises, these anchors provide direction, reminding you that temporary hardship contributes to a larger, meaningful trajectory. Imagine a sailor navigating a storm with a fixed star as a guide. The star does not remove the turbulence, but it provides orientation and focus. Community reinforcement further amplifies resilience. Surround yourself with individuals who model strength, provide encouragement, and challenge you to grow.
Sharing experiences, receiving constructive feedback, and witnessing others' perseverance reinforces your belief in your own capabilities. Adaptive flexibility is another cornerstone. Life's challenges are often unpredictable, requiring the ability to adjust strategies without compromising values or goals. This flexibility, combined with consistent self-reflection, allows for effective problem-solving and prevents stagnation when circumstances shift. Finally, develop gratitude for endurance. Recognizing past suffering as a catalyst for growth fosters a positive feedback loop. Each challenge endured becomes evidence of capability and proof that future difficulties can be met with competence. Through cognitive reframing, micro-challenges, ritualized reflection, purpose anchoring, community reinforcement, adaptive flexibility, and gratitude for endurance, resilience evolves from a reaction to a lifestyle. It empowers you to approach life confidently, with the knowledge that adversity is not a threat, but a teacher. These strategies also deepen self-awareness, improve emotional regulation, and cultivate inner strength, preparing you for continuous growth and the final stage of transformation. Living a life where suffering not only builds strength, but becomes a source of inspiration and meaning for others.
Building on resilience, the next stage is turning personal suffering into leadership and influence. Viktor Frankl's philosophy emphasizes that those who transform adversity into purpose are uniquely positioned to inspire, guide, and impact others. Leadership is not about authority, it is about the ability to illuminate paths for others through personal experience. The first principle is modeling courage through authenticity. By openly embracing your struggles, acknowledging vulnerabilities, and demonstrating perseverance, you provide a living example of resilience. People are drawn to authenticity. Seeing someone navigate hardship with integrity and reflection motivates them to do the same. Storytelling as impact is another powerful tool. Share lessons from your personal challenges in a structured, relatable way. Use metaphors, examples, and clear insights to make the message memorable. For instance, recount a professional failure and the strategies you applied to turn it into a stepping stone for success. Storytelling not only reinforces your own learning, but amplifies its reach, inspiring others to reinterpret their suffering. Mentorship and guidance amplify influence. Directly supporting others in navigating pain translates personal experience into actionable insight. Mentorship can be formal or informal, ranging from professional coaching to personal advice in daily interactions. The mentor becomes a living bridge, connecting theoretical lessons to practical application. Creating supportive environments is another extension of influence. Whether in workplaces, communities, or social circles, fostering spaces where vulnerability, reflection, and growth are valued allows collective resilience to flourish. People learn from context as much as from instruction. Embedding principles of strength and meaning in an environment magnifies impact. Additionally, cultivating emotional intelligence enhances influence. Understanding your own emotions and recognizing the feelings of others allows you to communicate more effectively, provide empathy, and guide responses to adversity. Emotional intelligence transforms leadership from mere instruction into relational influence. Symbolic actions, small, deliberate gestures rooted in lessons from suffering, reinforce teaching. Acts like acknowledging effort, celebrating growth, or publicly valuing resilience create ripples that inspire imitation and belief. Finally, embrace long-term visioning. Leaders who have navigated suffering understand that influence is cumulative. The decisions, behaviors, and examples set today resonate over years, shaping cultures, communities, and personal legacies. By modeling authenticity, leveraging storytelling, mentoring, creating supportive environments, practicing emotional intelligence, performing symbolic actions, and maintaining long-term vision, suffering transforms into a potent source of leadership. It evolves beyond personal growth into societal impact, demonstrating that adversity, when interpreted and applied consciously, becomes a foundation for meaningful influence. This understanding naturally flows into the final stage,
integrating all layers of transformation, resilience, purpose, identity, and leadership into a life of sustained impact and fulfillment. The final stage in transforming suffering into strength and meaning is living a fully integrated, purpose-driven life. At this stage, the lessons, strategies, and insights gained from pain are no longer separate practices. They are internalized, shaping behavior, thought, and identity continuously. Viktor Frankl's ultimate message is that the capacity to find meaning in suffering is what allows life to become truly purposeful. First, practice holistic integration. Align your personal, professional, and social life with the values cultivated through adversity. Ensure decisions reflect resilience, empathy, courage, and purpose, creating coherence between who you are, what you do, and what you aspire to achieve. This alignment generates clarity, reduces internal conflict, and strengthens decision-making under pressure. Ongoing reflection and recalibration are essential. Life is dynamic, and new challenges arise constantly. Establish periodic review points, weekly, monthly, or annually, to assess whether actions, goals, and mindset remain consistent with purpose. Adjust strategies as needed without losing sight of core values, reinforcing adaptability and growth. Mentorship and contribution become central. By sharing insights, guiding others, and creating opportunities for collective growth, personal suffering is converted into societal benefit. Teaching, supporting, and inspiring transforms private adversity into public good, leaving a lasting impact. Continuous learning ensures sustained evolution. Treat challenges as a continuous curriculum in life school, using obstacles as opportunities to acquire knowledge, develop skills, and deepen emotional intelligence. This mindset eliminates stagnation and keeps growth intentional. Resilience rituals, daily habits reinforcing mental, emotional, and physical strength, cement the lessons learned from adversity. Meditation, journaling, gratitude practice, and regular physical conditioning maintain preparedness for future difficulties. Purpose-driven decision-making ensures that choices consistently contribute to long-term meaning. Whether in career, relationships, or personal goals, evaluate decisions through the lens of values and lessons derived from suffering. Finally, cultivate legacy consciousness. Recognize that how you interpret and respond to adversity shapes not only your life, but also the lives of others. A life fully integrated with purpose, resilience, and insight becomes a blueprint for those around you, demonstrating that suffering is not merely an obstacle, but a foundation for impact, wisdom, and fulfillment. In essence, this final stage represents the culmination of Viktor Frankl's teachings. Suffering is transformed into strength, growth, and purposeful action. Through reflection, resilience, identity integration, proactive application, mentorship, and legacy building, adversity becomes a lifelong teacher. By internalizing these principles, you achieve not just personal mastery, but a life of profound meaning, where challenges are no longer feared, but embraced as guides to deeper understanding, strength, and contribution. The journey from pain to purpose is complete, illustrating that even the darkest moments can illuminate the path toward a fully realized, impactful, and meaningful existence.